RMJ Movie Reviews back again with an on-the-fly movie review of Widows, starring Viola Davis, Michelle Rodriguez, Liam Neeson, Colin Farrell, and a whole bunch of other folks. Great cast. Well, Widows. I saw the trailer for Widows a couple months ago. I believe it was when I saw the Superfly remake. And I really loved the tone of the trailer and all these great actors I saw, and it just had to, and I don't know if it's a harmonica that plays in the orchestral, and I don't know who did the score for that trailer, but that score over that trailer is fantastic. Unfortunately, there's not any of that essence within the film, which disappointed me, but I'll get on to that. Basically, Widows tells the story of like I said, it's a bunch of widows, group of ladies. I believe it's four of them. Uh, Four widows and their husbands were part of the criminal underworld of bank robbing, and they get killed. But unfortunately, the last robbery that they pulled off was a big crime boss, and they owe him some money, so he wants the rest of his money to get the rest that was owed to him, basically that they stole from him. So he wants his money back. And the widows, basically, he says, hey, look, if you don't get my cash, all y'all are dead. So y'all got to pay up. So they decide they're going to complete the job where their husbands left off. That's the story of Widows. I will say that it was okay. It was an alright film. What I loved about it is obviously all the actors in this thing were great, just across the board. Viola Davis never disappoints. Liam Neeson, basically a supporting player, has been great ever since Darkman and way before that. Michelle Rodriguez, I like this. She's not doing the Fast and the Furious thing, which I really like. I like that I've seen her. This is doing something at this point in her career. It's nice for her to kind of lay back and calm down and not calm down in terms of her acting and not play that tough chick type. You know what I mean? She's very subdued in this film, and she has a really good moment in this film that's icky and understandable at the same time. It represents her grieving and another person's grieving. I thought it was a very good moment for her. Colin Farrell, that's always been my dog since Minority Report, way back when. I've always been a Colin Farrell fan. You know, of course, people like to really jump on his back, particularly about his performance in Miami Vice, way back, if anybody remembers the Michael Mann Miami Vice movie. That was a questionable acting choice, the way he chose to play that reinterpretation of Sonny Crockett. I'm not really quite sure I agree with that. But I do think that when Colin Farrell is like a supporting player, and when you bring down the big studio production movie and you give him smaller stuff like this, I mean, he's really good. I think he's even fantastic on True Detective Season 2, even though a lot of people hate that. Robert Duvall, who shows up as Colin Farrell's father, this is a case where Robert Duvall is a vet. He's one of the greats. Here, I just don't think he's good in this film, to me. I just don't think, and it's partially because the way maybe the character is written or the screen time. He just doesn't have that much to work with. There's some very good moments between Colin Farrell and him, and kind of the perspective of each of their arguments that they have while they're butting heads. But I just don't. I just didn't like the way Robert Duvall played his character. I liked what his character was saying, but it just the acting choices, that's my opinion. I just don't think Robert Duvall was good in this film. And I respect Robert Duvall as one of the greats. Actually, I think it's Luke, I believe Luke Hawes from Lady in White, who's in this movie. Look, he pops up, and I was kind of looking, I was like, I know this actor. And I'm like, oh, that's old boy from the Lady in White from back in the day. Us old movie fans remember about the Lady in White. He's good in a very small part here, and everybody's good. I was kind of heated that my boy John Bernthal, I'm almost sure probably the original version of the movie, he was probably in much more longer. As it stands right now, he gets 2 scenes. So I'm pretty sure he's way more on the cutting room floor. Matter of fact, his scenes are so short in this. I mean, his part in Wind River was a lot larger than it is in this, and he wasn't really even in Wind River. That was a cameo as well. But John Bernthal is good for the one moment he has. But and I think Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out, he plays one of the baddies here, the henchman. When I saw the previews and I saw him, doing the wave and him doing the thing up in the dude's face, I was like, all right, I'm with this. Like I'm like, okay, a bad guy, kind of showing some bravado. Okay, it's nice to get an old school villain like that again. Cool, let's see what we got. Unfortunately, the way it plays out in the film, I love him as an actor. I think he's a great actor. I just think in this case, I just think this villain needed a little bit more. And I kind of felt the way he played it, there was not enough gravitas to the way he played it. There's one scene that I really like, and that scene is actually a scene in a bowling alley where he's torturing the guy from Color of Night, Deep Rising, and Lord of Illusions. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. But the guy is basically paralyzed from the waist down, and Daniel Kaluuya has a knife, and he's stabbing him in his legs, and the guy's just trying to crawl away, and he's not feeling it, and then he stabs him in his arm, and he goes, ah, and I'm just like, he's just like, oh, you don't feel it here, but you feel it there, and I'm just like, oh, that scene was fantastic the way that was played. Very sadistic. That's my favorite scene with Daniel Kaluuya in the movie. And then there's this scene in the gym that I believe these guys had stole some money and they were hiding out, so they're like freestyle. He makes them like straight up freestyle. And I mean, we're talking like old school beatboxing guys. Like they're like they're like doing like that, and he's like, I'm the man, and Daniel Kaluuya is just like all up in his face, and it's a pretty silly scene. It looks like it has much more power in the trailers than it does in the film. So I think if we would have had more moments like the bowling alley scene, where it was played, I don't know. I just didn't really think his menace was played right and with enough gravitas to me. So, but ultimately, this is an actor's film. This is a film just to appreciate the craft of a bunch of great actors being ensemble, together and each having their moments. The movie's good for that. As far as the payoff of this bank thriller, I don't really think the movie really hits like it should. It's just, there are some twists and turns in the plot. One which, when it came, right before it came up, I guessed it and I was right. That was an okay twist, although it kind of undermines a lot of the entire point of the movie, but whatever, I just roll with it. But ultimately, I think their heist, kind of how they were going to pull it off and whose job is what, wasn't made very clear. Where they were stealing it from, I mean, that wasn't very clear to me. There was a lot that was kind of left unclear. There's a lot of subplots that are kind of left dangling. They don't completely come together. And I think ultimately, between a lot of the themes that the movie brings up and a lot of the social issues, racial issues, economic issues, male-female issues, powerless issues, they all don't really come together like they should. And ultimately, there's so much dangling out there at the end of the story that's just kind of, and I just feel ultimately, in terms of the thriller and the story aspect, I don't think the movie quite comes together. So that's really my negative. Also, it's a little bit too long. I definitely think there were some things they could have taken out. But I think when you got this much great acting together, it probably gets hard choosing what you should keep and what you shouldn't. Because like I said, I believe John Bernthal probably had more, but he probably got the short end of the stick because his character ultimately doesn't play into the entire movie. Hans Zimmer does the score. and like I said, I really would have liked some stronger musical cues in the movie to really, because if you got Hans Zimmer, you know, and then you got Liam Neeson, Viola Davis, Colin Farrell, Michelle Rodriguez, Daniel Kaluuya. You got all this great talent. You would think that their strength of their acting would be complemented with Hans Zimmer's score, and it doesn't. You know, and honestly, I can say the strongest piece of music was in that original trailer with that harmonica, and you get that close up of Michelle Rodriguez's face, and she's looking up, and her face is so beautifully lit. Um, that was really the best part. I kind of wish that music that they played in the trailer would have been with the harmonica throughout the film. I really think that would have given it some more power. But ultimately, I enjoyed the actors, so that's why I give the movie a pass. But in terms of the thriller aspect and the story coming completely together, I don't think the movie is very successful on that end. So all in all, it was okay. I would say, you know, check it out in the afternoon, uh, on a late Saturday night, 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock show. I wouldn't even bother. So if you enjoy the actors, see it for that reason. If acting and just seeing these actors together is not enough for you, skip it. So anyway, that's my review of Widows. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, don't forget the little bell, and leave comments down below about Widows, RMJ movie reviews, and I will be back soon.